These are the tools I'm going to use to change that into that. Water in case of problems, and a fire extinguisher in case of real big problems. So I'm going to be firing up the torch with this inside there to contain the heat, get it hot enough so that it can be rendered soft for it to be annealed. I'm going to cut a bevel, file a bevel, and then reharden this blade. Use the CSO webbing stretchers as a heat sink. I don't want to melt the handle. Pretty red, cherry at least. Spots of it are turning a little bit straw, a little bit red. Well, I'm getting fed up with this. I don't want to add more heat until I melt the handle, so I'm just going to go with this and hope it's soft enough to cut with a hacksaw. And let that cool. I'm working on two of them at once. This one is cool, and I'm now going to set it up to have the same angle as this scraper I've made previously. Alright, there's number one ready to go. A little bit different setup. This allows me to get the handle off the deck so I can actually get the file closer to where it's got to go. I'm filing into the steel. This is the blade with the curve in it. So what I'm doing is running the file up that steel, trying to lengthen the bevel, waiting until I feel a bit of foil underneath. I'm also worried about where I cut in with the hacksaw, because the heel of this knife has to be very regular and keen. The actual shape of the blade, I don't imagine the front shape. I imagine it doesn't have that much to do with how it cuts. A lot of the French knives are very curved. So as I get down to coming up with a foil edge on the bottom, I want to keep the file very regular and flat, because this will make it easier when I go to the stones to keep that edge more regular. The stone of choice is going to be a diamond plate, and red being 600 mesh, so I'm going to go with the red side. So I'm just going to do the back first and bring it down flat. Okay, fairly flat, fairly regular. The front of the blade's the trick. Maintaining that angle is always difficult, so you got to sort of feel for it. Take a couple of cuts and then check and see what's going on, so the heel and the toe were getting a bit of action there. Yeah, I'm too much on the heel here. I got to lean forward onto the blade. Okay, starting to get flat and regular here. The heel, I must have been leaning with the file a lot more. The angle is different. So just wait until that comes up. Just got to take the steel off until you catch up. 600 on this soft stuff would be fine. If this steel was hardened, I'd be using 80 grit to get rid of that edge. Okay, so you can see that edge is fairly flat, fairly regular. And let's get rid of some of the foil on the back. So you can see the foil has come up with that wavy edge. Well, there's a bit of foil that's come off. That's actually kind of interesting. The steel that comes off is fine as steel wool. will burn in a torch. Actually, let me show that now. You can watch this stuff burn up. This is how this is rusting at high speed. Lots of carbon in that. You can see the sparkles. Richard, Canadian knife maker, utility knives and work knives. High carbon steel. I think they say it's above 1.25%. So I'm not that worried about decarburizing this blade when I put it in the torch. Oh, you can see a bit of foil coming off now because it's got lots of carbon to start with. Nice stiff scraper. Alright, here we go. I want to bring as much heat as I can, as quickly as I can, so that I get the steel hot without, of course, cooking the handle. The tip of that knife blade is going to get extremely hot because of the thinness of the blade, so I want to heat behind the blade to get the steel body as hot as I can. Cherry red or hotter. I changed the way the rock wool is wrapped around that pipe just to increase the heat retention inside that copper pipe. You can see it's glowing pretty good now. It's got to be hot though. Real hot. Yeah, it's glowing pretty good. I think that is as hot as this torch can make that steel. So there it is, quenched. I'm going to try and strike it with a file, see if the file touches it. If the file can't touch it, it's hard enough to make a knife out of. Striking it there, not striking it there. So it's striking down here, but it's not striking up in the work area. Hard enough to go. Right, there's the nozzle tip. I'm going to be using it to heat some of the steel back from the edge and allowing that temper to creep up to the edge. I'm looking for a straw finish at the edge. Maybe a little bit of, there'll be bluing down below, but I hope the edge stays straw or maybe a little bit blue. So let's see how it goes. So I want a fairly small flame, and I'm going to heat the base of the knife up, hoping to allow that heat to spread up the blade nice and slowly so I control the temperature at the tip. So as the blade tempers, it's going to oxidize the steel, and the different colors will give me an approximation of the temperature of the steel. So you can see it's bluing around there, and you see that front edge of that heat wave is going up the blade. I want to get there evenly, so I want to make sure I get sort of the blue and the straw to get to the same place, especially up at that one tip. Okay. Well, we may have gone too far, a little bit of blue, but we'll see. So that's tempering in a flame. This then cools by itself, allowing it to come to rest. And the other one I'm going to do in a lead bath later on. Some 150. That's heating it up, but it's getting down to the steel. A lot flatter. Let's see what we can do with the 400 stone now. Now that piece of the blade is closer to the stone, it's starting to show a bit of gray in the water. So there, showing quite flat. A little bit of foil on the back, get rid of that. Still a little bit by the heel, it's not getting much rub. One thing you don't want to do is test your knife before you finish sharpening, otherwise you'll rip the foil off rather than work the foil off. Okay, that's showing fairly flat now, fairly regular. So, we graduate. There, it's getting flat. You can see it pulling up a little gray now. Taking a while to flatten out. Flat and regular on the 600. Let's go to 1200. May take a while to flatten out enough to grab some steel off this blade. There, it's starting to gray up a bit. They're looking fairly flat on the back. Front's starting to look pretty good. So after the 1200, we can then graduate to a strop. Usually I use green aluminum oxide on the strop. This one's fairly short, but it'll do for now. Maintain the bevel, stropping only one direction until you bring up the foil, flat on the back. And here's where you want to look at the edge, see if you can detect any telltales or foil or specks or any shiny bits. It means you don't have an edge. The edge actually disappears and you won't see anything on it. Okay. I'm happy with that. Let's go get some leather to shave up. Okay, here's some bits of 3, 4, 5, 6, some skirting, some heavy stuff, some light stuff. This is the knife we just did. Let's start on some about 6-7 ounce veg. See how it goes. Not bad. Feeling pretty darn smooth. So that's got our edge down to about 2 ounce. Now we want to make it a longer scav. Well, you just tip the blade over, rest up the heel on, and then bring that shoulder down all the way across. And you can keep going down that shoulder until you get a very long scav without interfering with the edge you've just put on. You do need to feather it. You can stick it on right near the heel, and then when you run your angle down, it's going to pick up that edge and it's going to give you a feather. So, something to think of. Make your own knife. You're all set. So, there it is.